What if I told you that the real reason your erections are getting weaker has nothing to do with aging itself, and nothing to do with low testosterone, but because the very veins inside your penis are clogging up like an old rusty pipe? Imagine this. Before your heart ever shows signs of trouble, before your brain ever sends you a warning, the smallest blood vessels in your body, right there in your manhood, are already shutting down. For millions of men over 60, erectile dysfunction isn't just a bedroom issue. It's the very first alarm bell that your cardiovascular system is in danger. My name is Dr. Mohit Khera. I'm a professor of urology and men's health, and for more than 3 decades I've worked with men just like you. Men who wanted to feel younger, stronger, and more confident in their intimacy, and who also wanted to protect their hearts and their lives. I've seen firsthand what works, what fails, and most importantly, how the right daily choices can transform your body at any age. Here's the part that may surprise you. Most men assume that when erections fade, it's all about hormones or desire. But the truth is, the penis is your body's check engine light. The very first signs of clogged arteries show up there, long before you ever feel chest pain. That means your struggle in the bedroom is actually telling you something much bigger. The good news is, you are not powerless. Today, I'm going to show you 5 powerful foods that science proves can open the veins of your penis, cleanse your arteries, and restore the natural blood flow your body was designed to have. And stay with me until the end, because there's an even more critical secret, the "and", that most men overlook. It could make the difference between simply improving your erections and transforming your entire future health. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video designed to help men over 60 take control of their health and vitality. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 and tell me how I can serve you better. Now let's begin with the very first key you must understand: why erections depend entirely on healthy blood flow. Because before we talk about the foods that can open your veins, you need to see clearly how circulation is the foundation of strength, confidence, and lasting performance. 1. Why erections depend on blood flow. When I sit down with men in their 60s and 70s, one of the first questions I ask is not about testosterone, not about medications, but about their circulation. Because here's the truth: an erection is not magic, it is not mystery, it is pure blood flow. Think of your penis like a hydraulic system. The moment your brain signals desire, your arteries must expand, blood must rush in with force, and the chambers inside the penis must fill and trap that blood to stay firm. Without that surge, nothing happens. You can want it, you can try, but without strong circulation, the body simply cannot deliver. And this is where many men are blindsided. They tell me, "Doctor, my heart feels fine, I'm not having chest pain." But the penis speaks first. The arteries in your manhood are far smaller than the ones in your heart. They are like a narrow country road compared to a 4-lane highway. It takes only the smallest bit of plaque or stiffness to choke off that flow, and suddenly you begin to notice softer erections, or ones that fade before you're ready. That is not failure. That is not weakness. That is your body's early warning system. Your penis is sounding the alarm long before your heart attack ever would. I've seen men who ignored this sign, thinking it was just age, or stress, or hormones. Years later, they came back with serious cardiovascular disease that could have been prevented had they listened to that first quiet signal. And I've seen men who took it seriously, who realized that protecting their erections was the same as protecting their lives. Those men reversed course. They cleaned their arteries, improved their circulation, and with it, restored their intimacy. I want you to hear me clearly. Erections are not only about the bedroom. They are a mirror of your overall health. When you begin to struggle, it is your body whispering, "Take care of me before it is too late." And when you respond, when you take action, you are not just fighting for sexual performance. You are building a stronger heart, sharper memory, and longer life. So before we go any further, let this sink in. Erections rise and fall with blood flow, and blood flow depends on what you put on your plate, how you move your body, and the choices you make every single day. The penis is the first place to show the cracks, but it can also be the first place to show healing. Now that you understand why circulation is the foundation, let me take you into the very first food that has the power to open your veins and flood your body with life again. It's simple, it's natural, and it's probably already sitting in your kitchen. 2. Food number 1. Dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard. When I think back over the decades I've spent treating men, there's one lesson I keep returning to again and again. Nature always leaves us clues. And when it comes to protecting a man's erections, those clues are written in green. I've lost count of the number of times I've told a patient, start with the leaves. By that I mean dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, the foods most of us ignored as kids, but the very same ones that can keep your veins young, open, and strong well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Why are these greens so powerful? It comes down to one miracle molecule, nitric oxide. Every time you take a forkful of spinach or a handful of arugula, you are feeding your body dietary nitrates. Once inside, your body transforms those nitrates into nitric oxide, a gas that tells your blood vessels to relax, expand, and let blood flow freely. Without nitric oxide, your arteries remain tight, your circulation suffers, and erections become weaker and shorter. With it, blood surges through your body like water rushing through a wide-open dam. I'll never forget a patient of mine, 72 years old, who walked into my office embarrassed and quiet. He told me he hadn't had a full erection in years and believed his intimate life was over. But when we dug into his habits, I noticed something. His diet had been stripped of color. No greens, no vegetables, nothing fresh. Together, we made a plan. He began each day with a simple salad, a base of spinach, topped with a squeeze of lemon. Within a few weeks, he came back with tears in his eyes. "Doctor," he said, "it's working again." It wasn't a magic pill. It wasn't surgery. It was the most basic food nature offers. And the benefits go far beyond the bedroom. Dark leafy greens don't just open the veins of the penis, they lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and protect against heart disease. They are like a natural tune-up for your entire vascular system. When you feed your arteries what they crave, they respond quickly. The stiffness softens, the flow improves, and the body begins to heal itself. I tell my patients to treat greens not as a side dish, but as a prescription. Put them on your plate every single day. Build your meals around them, because every bite is a direct message to your veins. Open, relax, let life flow again. Now, imagine if one fruit could take this process even further, not only supporting nitric oxide, but actually fueling its production at the deepest level, turning your body into a factory of circulation. That fruit exists, and it's one you've probably enjoyed on a hot summer day. Let me show you why watermelon is so much more than a refreshing snack. 3. Food number 2. Watermelon, the Citrulline booster. There are few things in life as simple and joyful as biting into a slice of cold, juicy watermelon on a hot summer day. That sweet, refreshing taste brings back childhood memories for so many of us. Picnics, family gatherings, long afternoons in the sun. But what most men don't realize is that watermelon is not just a nostalgic treat. It is, quite literally, medicine for your manhood. Inside that bright red flesh is an amino acid called citrulline. Now, I know that may sound like a scientific detail, but let me explain why it matters so deeply. Citrulline in your body is converted into another amino acid called arginine, and arginine is the direct raw material your body uses to produce nitric oxide. Think of it like this. If spinach and leafy greens are the spark that turns on nitric oxide, watermelon is the fuel that keeps the fire burning. Together, they create the conditions your veins need to stay open, relaxed, and ready for strong blood flow. I had a patient once who laughed when I first suggested eating more watermelon. He told me, "Doctor, you expect me to solve my problem with fruit?" But he gave it a try. He replaced his nightly dessert of cookies with a bowl of watermelon. A few weeks later, he called me, his voice filled with surprise. He said, "I can't believe it, but things are changing. I'm waking up with morning erections again." For him, it wasn't just about intimacy, it was about feeling alive again. like a part of his youth had returned. And that's the gift watermelon can give you. It hydrates your body, supports your circulation, and provides the very building blocks for the chemical reaction that powers erections from the inside out. What's even more fascinating is that the rind, the part most of us throw away, contains the highest concentration of citrulline. Now, I'm not suggesting you gnaw on the rind every night, but it shows just how potent this fruit really is. Even the flesh alone provides enough benefit to make a difference. And every bite not only supports your sexual health, but also protects your heart, your blood vessels, and your overall vitality. So when you see a watermelon, don't think of it as just a summertime snack. Think of it as nature's prescription, sweet and satisfying, written specifically for men who want to reclaim their strength. And here's something that makes this even better. The next food on our list is not sweet at all. In fact, it's bitter. But inside that bitter taste lies a hidden shield that protects the very lining of your arteries, ensuring nitric oxide can do its job. Let me show you why dark chocolate, when chosen carefully, can become one of your greatest allies. 4. Food number 3. Dark chocolate, the endothelium protector. There's something undeniably comforting about chocolate. For many of us, it brings back memories of childhood, of sharing sweets with loved ones, or of treating ourselves after a long day. But what if I told you that chocolate, when chosen carefully, can actually serve as a prescription for your blood vessels and your erections? Now, I'm not talking about candy bars or milk chocolate loaded with sugar and cream. I mean real, rich, bitter dark chocolate with a cacao content of 70% or higher. That bitterness you taste is not a flaw. It's the very signal that you're giving your body something powerful, something healing. Here's why it matters. Inside your arteries lies a delicate inner lining called the endothelium. It's fragile, almost like silk, and yet it controls one of the most important processes in your entire body, the release of nitric oxide. When the endothelium is healthy, it produces nitric oxide freely, telling your arteries to open wide, sending blood rushing into your heart, your brain, and yes, your penis. But when it's damaged by sugar, by smoking, by inflammation, nitric oxide production slows, your vessels tighten, and blood flow weakens. That's when erectile problems begin. Dark chocolate is packed with compounds called flavonoids, powerful antioxidants that act like bodyguards for the endothelium. They neutralize the free radicals and inflammation that would otherwise scar and stiffen that delicate lining. In doing so, they keep your arteries flexible, responsive, and ready to deliver blood exactly when and where you need it. I remember a patient in his late 60s who admitted he had a sweet tooth. Instead of telling him to give up chocolate completely, I encouraged him to trade his nightly candy bar for a single square of high-quality dark chocolate. A few months later, his lab work showed lower blood pressure and improved cholesterol. More importantly, he told me his erections felt firmer, more reliable. He smiled when he said, "Doctor, I didn't think dessert could save my marriage." It's important to remember, moderation is key. You don't need a whole bar. Just a small piece, savored slowly, can give your body exactly what it needs. Each bite is like polishing the inside of your veins, helping them stay clear and functional. And unlike so many so-called treats, this one doesn't damage, it heals. So the next time you reach for something sweet, let it be dark chocolate. Let it be a choice that supports your intimacy, your circulation, and your heart. And here's the best part. Chocolate is only one piece of the puzzle. Because while it protects the lining of your arteries, there are other foods, bright, colorful, and bursting with antioxidants, that actively fight the inflammation rusting your veins from the inside. These are foods you may already love, and when you hear what they can do, you'll never look at a bowl of berries the same way again. 5. Food number 4. Berries, the inflammation fighters. There's something almost magical about berries. Whether it's the deep blue of blueberries, the bright red of strawberries, or the rich purple of blackberries, these little fruits carry more than just flavor. They carry the power to heal. I often tell my patients that the color in their food is a clue, a sign from nature. And in the case of berries, those vibrant shades come from compounds called anthocyanins, which are among the most potent inflammation fighters we know. Why is this so important for men struggling with weaker erections? Because chronic inflammation is the silent enemy of your blood vessels. It doesn't cause pain right away, but slowly, year after year, it damages the lining of your arteries, making them sticky and prone to plaque buildup. Imagine rust forming on the inside of a pipe. It narrows the passageway, weakens the structure, and sooner or later, the flow slows to a trickle. That's exactly what inflammation does to the veins inside your penis. And that's why so many men notice the earliest signs of trouble in the bedroom long before they notice it anywhere else. But here's the beauty of berries. Their antioxidants sweep through your bloodstream like a repair crew, cooling the fire of inflammation and polishing the walls of your arteries so blood can flow smoothly again. I remember a man in his mid-60s who came to see me after years of frustration with fading intimacy. He told me he had given up on desserts, thinking all sweets were harmful. When I suggested he try adding a handful of blueberries to his morning oatmeal or keeping raspberries on hand for an evening snack, he looked at me with surprise. "Doctor, you mean something sweet can actually help me?" A month later, he came back with a grin. He felt more energetic, lighter on his feet, and yes, more alive in the bedroom. That's the emotional power of berries. They're simple, accessible, and they make you feel like you're doing something good for yourself every time you eat them. They don't just protect your erections, they protect your heart, your memory, and even your mood. For men over 60, adding berries is like giving your bloodstream a daily tune-up, keeping it clean, smooth, and ready for performance. So the next time you reach for a snack, trade the cookies or chips for a small bowl of berries. It's not just a healthier choice, it's a life-giving one. And as powerful as berries are, they are only part of the story. Because there's one more food that carries a reputation as the ultimate protector of blood vessels. A food packed with healthy fats that can literally sweep dangerous cholesterol out of your arteries. This is the food that ties everything together. And once you discover its benefits, you'll see why fatty fish deserves a permanent place on your plate. 6. Food number 5. Fatty fish, the omega-3 solution. When I talk to men in their 60s and beyond about diet, many of them still carry the old fear that fat is bad. They remember the decades when doctors warned everyone to avoid fat at all costs, as if it were poison. But science has evolved, and so has our understanding. Not all fats are created equal. In fact, the right fats can heal your arteries, restore balance to your bloodstream, and bring life back to your erections. This is where fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and anchovies come in. These fish are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, and I like to call omega-3s the cleanup crew of your circulation system. Here's how it works. In your bloodstream, there are fats floating around: triglycerides, LDL cholesterol, HDL cholesterol. Triglycerides and LDL are the villains, clogging your arteries and forming the sticky plaque that narrows veins, including those inside your penis. HDL, on the other hand, is the hero. It carries the bad fats away, almost like garbage trucks hauling waste out of your body. Omega-3 fatty acids have been proven time and again to lower triglycerides, reduce LDL, and boost HDL. When you eat fatty fish, you're literally giving your body the tools it needs to clear out the gunk and keep blood flowing smoothly. I had a patient in his late 60s who confessed he never liked fish. He grew up eating mostly red meat and fried foods. His cholesterol was high, his energy was low, and his erections were unreliable. I challenged him to try salmon twice a week, prepared simply, grilled with lemon and herbs. At first he resisted, but within a few months, his lab results improved, his blood pressure came down, and he pulled me aside with a quiet smile. "Doctor," he said, "I didn't think something as simple as fish could make me feel young again, but it has." That's the power of omega-3s. They don't just protect your heart, they directly influence the quality of your intimacy by keeping your penile arteries clear and responsive. Fatty fish also reduce inflammation throughout the body, which means they fight two of the biggest threats at once: clogged arteries and chronic vascular damage. For older men, that translates into not just better erections, but also sharper thinking, stronger joints, and a longer, healthier life. When you put a piece of salmon on your plate, you're not just eating dinner, you're investing in your future. So, as you sit at the table, remember that every bite of fatty fish is like sending in a maintenance team to sweep your arteries clean. But there's something else you need to know. Because while these 5 foods can transform your blood flow, there are also enemies on your plate, hidden villains that quietly undo all your progress. And unless you recognize and remove them, you'll never see the full results you deserve. Let's talk about those silent saboteurs next. 7. The and. What you must remove. Up until now, we've talked about the foods that open your veins, clean your arteries, and bring strength back to your erections. But here's a truth I've seen over and over in my practice. What you take out of your diet is just as important as what you add. You can eat spinach, watermelon, dark chocolate, berries, and salmon every single day. But if you're still poisoning your body with the wrong choices, it's like trying to mop the floor while the faucet is still running. You'll never see the results you want. The first villain you need to recognize is refined sugar and processed carbs. Think about the sodas, the candy, the white bread, the pastries that seem innocent but cause chaos inside your body. Every time you eat them, your blood sugar spikes, your insulin surges, and inflammation flares up like a fire in your arteries. That fire damages the delicate lining of your blood vessels, the same endothelium that produces nitric oxide, and once that lining is scarred, it cannot relax and open the way it should. I can't tell you how many men I've seen who thought a little sugar was harmless, only to discover their arteries were paying the price. The second enemy is trans fats and fried foods. These are the so-called industrial fats found in margarine, packaged baked goods, and the deep-fried meals so many of us grew up on. These fats raise LDL, the bad cholesterol, while lowering HDL, the good cholesterol. In other words, they create the perfect storm for plaque to build up in your veins. And where does it show up first? You guessed it, inside the tiny arteries of your penis, where even a small blockage can rob you of the flow you need. The third is ultra-processed foods in general. If it comes in a box with a long list of ingredients you can't pronounce, chances are it's not doing your circulation any favors. These products are loaded with chemicals, preservatives, and hidden sugars that quietly inflame your body day after day. I had one patient who swore he ate healthy because his cupboards were full of low-fat packaged snacks. But when we cleaned out his diet and replaced those boxes with real, whole foods, the difference was night and day. His blood pressure dropped, his energy rose, and his erections returned with a strength he hadn't felt in years. And we can't ignore the lifestyle toxins. Excessive alcohol and smoking are devastating to your blood vessels. Alcohol weakens them, making them less responsive, while smoking literally chokes the life out of them. I've seen marriages nearly destroyed by these habits, and I've seen men rebuild their intimacy simply by letting them go. So yes, the 5 foods I shared can open your veins and restore your vitality, but if you keep feeding your body these villains, you'll never unleash their full power. The truth is, what you remove is an act of love for yourself and for the people who count on you. And here's the hopeful part. Once you begin to clear out the poisons, your body has an extraordinary ability to heal, no matter your age. Now that you know the enemies to avoid, let's step into something even deeper. Because this isn't just about food or blood vessels, it's about the emotional reality of being a man over 60, facing changes in your body, and deciding whether you'll accept decline or fight for renewal. And that choice is more powerful than you might think. 8. Emotional reality for men over 60. One of the hardest conversations I have in my office is when a man over 60 looks me in the eye and says, "Doctor, maybe this is just my age. Maybe I'm supposed to accept that intimacy is over for me." I can hear the resignation in his voice, the quiet belief that life after 60 is meant to be smaller, weaker, and less joyful. And every time, I lean in and tell him, no, that's not the truth. Age may change your body, but it does not have to steal your vitality. Because what many men don't realize is that the body has an incredible capacity to heal, even after years of neglect. Your veins can recover, your arteries can open again, your energy can return, and yes, your erections can come back stronger than you ever imagined possible. I've seen men in their 70s who thought their best days were behind them walk back into my office months later with a smile of pride saying, "Doctor, I feel like myself again." They weren't just talking about sex. They were talking about confidence, about the joy of sitting with their wives and feeling close again, about waking up in the morning with a sense of strength instead of defeat. That's the emotional reality of this journey. It's not just about performance. It's about reclaiming the dignity of being a man, about refusing to let age write the final chapter of your story. What strikes me most is how deeply these changes ripple into every part of life. When a man feels strong in the bedroom again, he walks taller, he laughs more, he takes better care of himself. His partner feels it too, because intimacy is not just physical, it's emotional. It's about connection, trust, and the silent message that says, "I am still here for you." And that message matters just as much at 60 or 70 as it did at 25. So if you're sitting here thinking it's too late for you, I want you to hear my voice clearly. It is never too late. The foods we've discussed, the habits we've covered, they are not just science, they are hope. They are the tools you can use today to build the future you want, no matter how old you are. I have witnessed transformations that many would call impossible, and the only difference between the men who succeed and the men who don't is the decision to try. Now, understanding the emotional weight of these changes is powerful, but it means nothing without action. Knowledge is only potential. What matters is what you do next. And that's why I want to give you something simple, practical, and life-changing. The exact steps you can take starting today to reclaim your circulation, rebuild your confidence, and open the veins of your penis once again. Let's talk about your next step. 9. Your next step. When men leave my office after a consultation, I always remind them of one simple truth. Nothing changes until you take action. You can know the science, you can understand the foods, you can even feel motivated in the moment, but if you don't put it into practice, your body will remain exactly where it is. And that's the tragedy I want to help you avoid. Because I've seen too many men walk away from their potential, thinking tomorrow will be the day they start, and then tomorrow never comes. The path forward doesn't require perfection. It doesn't mean you have to transform your diet overnight or give up every comfort you enjoy. It begins with one decision, one small change that tells your body and your mind, "I am serious about reclaiming my health." For some of my patients, that first step is adding a handful of spinach to their dinner plate. For others, it's trading dessert for a bowl of berries or replacing fried foods with grilled salmon. The specific choice doesn't matter nearly as much as the act of choosing. Every time you choose one of the 5 healing foods, you're sending a signal through your bloodstream that says, "I am opening my veins. I am giving myself another chance." I've had men in their 70s tell me they started small, almost skeptically, and within weeks they noticed changes. More energy in the morning, a clearer head, and yes, firmer erections. Their partners noticed too, not just physically, but emotionally. Suddenly, there was a spark at the dinner table again, a sense of pride and intimacy that had been missing for years. Those moments matter. They are the reward for taking action today, not someday. So I ask you now, what will your first step be? Will it be a trip to the market to buy fresh greens? Will it be saying no to the soda you've grown used to with lunch? Or will it be something as simple as taking out a small piece of dark chocolate tonight and enjoying it slowly, knowing you're nourishing your arteries instead of harming them? Whatever it is, make it real, make it today, and let it be the start of a new chapter. Because here's the deeper truth. Your erections are not just about pleasure, they are about survival. They are a reflection of your cardiovascular health, your future vitality, and the quality of your remaining years. Every small step you take now is a step toward more time, more connection, more life. And as powerful as these next steps are, I want to leave you with one final message, something I share with every man who sits across from me in my office. It is a truth that ties everything we've discussed together into a single, unforgettable lesson. Let's move into the conclusion, where I'll show you why protecting your erections may just be the most important health decision you will ever make. Conclusion: the final call. Gentlemen, we've walked through the truth together. Erections rise and fall with blood flow, and blood flow is shaped by the choices you make every single day. You now know the 5 foods that can open the veins of your penis. Dark leafy greens to spark nitric oxide, watermelon to fuel its production, dark chocolate to protect the lining of your arteries, berries to fight inflammation, and fatty fish to sweep your bloodstream clean. You also know the hidden enemies, sugar, trans fats, processed junk, alcohol, and smoking, that quietly undo your progress. And you've heard me remind you that erectile struggles are not a failure, but a warning, a sign your body is calling out for care before something bigger happens. I've spent more than 30 years sitting with men who felt hopeless, only to watch them reclaim their vitality when they took these steps seriously. I've seen tears of relief, smiles of pride, and relationships restored. And I want that for you too. So my final call is this: don't wait. Start today. Every bite you take is a choice to either build your life or break it down. Choose to build. Because when you protect your erections, you're protecting your heart, your mind, and your future.